Joined on the phone today by Charles Berry Jr., the son of the late, great Chuck Berry. Mr. Berry, how you doing today?
Well, I'm Charles, Dustin, but I'm doing okay.
All right, it's great to be speaking with you.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Well, I know your father's last album, Chuck, is out, and let's talk a bit about that, a little bit about the album, and what the listeners are in for.
Okay. Well, it was a long process for this record. You know, he was kind of banging them out. He was really banging them out back in the 50s and banging them out in the 60s. You know, something coming out maybe once every year or once every 18 months. After Rocket was released in 1979, he did go back in the studio, Dustin, and he was recording every free moment that he could. He was very creative. I mean, I found stuff after my dad passed away that my mom hadn't seen in, ages. Lyric sheets, pieces of paper with lyrics on it that became, various songs that he then performed. He also had stuff on TWA Stationery and Holiday Inn Stationery. My dad was constantly writing lyrics, constantly recording whenever he got the chance. So 79 to 1989, he's in his studio. He's just going at it. He's going at it. And then the studio burns down. Burns down. All that music in that 10-year period gets just destroyed. And the studio. So 1991 rolls around. He's rebuilt his studio, and he goes back in, and he's at it again. But now we're talking about a guy who had toured like crazy, that previous time.
Sure.
But now my dad is also dealing with the fact that he's got Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, this documentary that was released in 87 under his belt. And my dad never really faded from popularity. He could always walk out the door and tour anytime he wanted. But that movie introduced him to a whole new generation of kids, a whole new generation of people that, like, this guy is hilarious. He's a damn good guitarist. So now the tour dates kick it back in. They really kick in strong after 87. So he keeps on rolling. He keeps on rolling. And every chance he gets, he goes back in the studio and he does some more recording. 2014 rolls around, and that's finally when he said, you know what? Let's go ahead and get this thing released. All of his stuff was basically there. There was in fact, everything was done. There were technical issues that need to be straightened out. My dad's bass player, 40 years. There was a couple songs where the bass had to be re-recorded just because the stuff went from analog tape to Pro Tools, and
right.
Pro Tools just opened a whole new door in regards to the ability to record stuff. But it also exposed many flaws that analog tape brought to the table in the analog process. Now, I'm one of those that like analog sound too, but the flexibility of Pro Tools and other tools like it really just stepped up the game. So they're listening to this stuff. It's like, hey, there's pops in this. In fact, that's when Dual Tone finally, the record label, they said, there's pops in this bass. Okay, go back, re-record the bass. My sister then added her vocals to a couple of the songs, and my sister's unbelievable. She's been in my dad's band for 40-plus years as well. Ingrid can sing and play harmonica. I'll stack her up against anybody. If there's an American Idol for professional musicians, that's one she's going to win every time. But so that was added. Myself and my son, we did our stuff. Morello, Clark, and Rateliff, they did their stuff. And some of this post after my dad's stuff is done. This now it's like, okay, I think Tom did his recordings in L.A. I think Gary did his stuff in L.A. Nathaniel did his stuff out in Denver. Myself and my son, we did our stuff in Nashville. And then this bass stuff and my sister's stuff was done in St. Louis at an excellent studio. Actually, it was just a voice studio that this guy also had the capability of doing live musical recording. And during the whole process, we're taking stuff to my father, letting him hear it, and my father and my mother, letting the two of them hear it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. They were a little reluctant about Morello at first because, it's like, wait a minute, this is like a super electric, effects kind of guy.
Right.
Tom came in, did his stuff on big Big Boys, and they loved it. They said, "Wow, he nailed it. He stayed in the pot. Everything Tom did, they loved. They loved it. So across the board, I mean, they really dug it. And then Dual Tone did their thing as an excellent record label and got this thing pushed out the door for it.
Excellent. Yeah, it's incredible the journey that it's been on, and you'd be hard pressed to find someone who wasn't influenced by your father. So it's great that he was out there doing it till his last days, and the new album Chuck is out now. I know we've run out of time already, Charles, but I really appreciate you talking with me today.
Oh no, pleasure's all mine, Dustin.
All right, thank you so much.
All righty.
And again, that was Charles Berry Jr., son of the legendary Chuck Berry, and his last album, Chuck, is available now.